This week on Tragedy to Triumph.
9/11 changed me, changed most of the country, but I lost a good friend and I lost a brother.
Today represents a recreation and a reconnecting to hope out of tragedy, which to me is the secret of life. That for any experience we have that is negative, when we add the vertical relationship with the Almighty to the horizontal relationship we have with a very confused world, we have a negative turned into a positive, and today we make a negative remembrance a positive statement: never, ever again.
Dave Roever's personal story is a gripping, unforgettable one that moves from tragedy to triumph. And now he's helping today's returning warriors find their way home. For your gift today of $25 or more to help Dave continue his work with our heroes, Dave would like to send you his book, Scarred. Call now and order your copy. You'll not only be captivated by this true story of tragedy to triumph, you'll be helping another warrior find their way home. Call right now.
It's an amazing day today, 9/11. The flag is at half-mast and a nation remembers. Remembering is the best weapon we have against our enemy, because if we forget, we are destined to relive. And to relive a nightmare because we simply do not take the time to remember. Not at Fort Bragg, we remember. We are thrilled to be here today with the greatest warriors that have ever served our nation's freedom. This is an awesome place. It is a hallowed place. And today we will be remembering these memorials, these wonderful men and women, these people around this post are, I'm emotional about it. And I won't hide that. The emotion is part of the remembering. So today our first responders are here from the police department, from the fire department. Our beautiful military are here who laid their life on the line as well. And today we're still free. And no matter what the future holds, 9/11 will never be forgotten.
John Cozy, thank you. Thank you for taking the time to be on this program with me. And on this program, we hear from the warrior side, but so often we don't hear from the other side. What happened on 9/11 that affected you so deeply, and who else did it affect in your family?
9/11 changed me, changed most of the country, but I lost a good friend and I lost a brother. My brother worked for Cantor Fitzgerald in the World Trade Tower, and of course I watched it unfold live. So I literally watched my brother die, and it's changed me as a person in ways that I sometimes can't explain.
Your brother, Joseph Sicoli, was lost that day, yet he was found. What happened in that tower, that deadly moment, that allowed you and your family to have something that so few families ever had, that capacity of closure? Tell me how that came about.
I believe the Cantor Fitzgerald offices were anywhere from the 90th to the 100th floor. He had one of the high offices, and what I understand is that nobody from the 86th floor and higher survived. He, of course, was above that which was the impact zone on the first tower to be hit, second tower to be fall. I think it was Tower 2, that the one that had the big antenna on the front, on the top. But he had enough time because that building lasted a lot longer than the second building. Eventually, we were told that Joe was on what's considered top of the pile. Is what we have some other family members that were in the fire department, and every recovery at that point was documented, and so the family could have closure. We did have closure because we received Joe's remains fully intact, and we understood that he was with 2 other people in a crouched down position in a stairwell together. If I know Joe, he was praying. And he was talking to the Lord. He had called Mom and told her about that he was trying to get out, and there was some, left a voicemail on an answering machine. But we were one of the lucky ones, if you can actually think of it that way, that Joe's body was returned to us, and it was identifiable, it gave closure that a lot of people just didn't have, because some people just got IDs back, some people got wedding rings back, some people didn't get anything. And I thank the Lord that when we went through this process, that it's strange to think that we'd want to just say thank you that we have a body back, but it meant so much to the family.
How do you feel today, in the light of history, that our nation is dealing with 9/11?
Every time 9/11 is mentioned, the only thing they show is the 2 towers burning. They don't show the wall that people were actually looking. They don't really show people that were covered in soot, trying to find their loved ones, trying to survive, trying to get off Manhattan, trying to make contact because most of the cell towers and stuff went out. They don't show that. They just show the 2 burning towers. And it hurts me that every time 9/11's mentioned, it's like I'm being taken back live watching it happen, and I understand that most of the way our government the kids are being taught today about 9/11 is they're trying to downplay it because they don't want the kids growing up to be hatred, and it's part of our history. It changed. It was as big as Pearl Harbor.
Exactly.
And people don't understand that everybody was behind World War II because it was so evil. We are facing the exact same enemy in regards to somebody who hit us on our home soil. And it bothers me that, some of our own government is trying to downplay it because they don't want the kids to grow up to hatred. And I don't feel like I have hatred, but I do have a lot of anger. And I try, with praying, with talking to family members, talking to other people, talking in this type of situation like we're doing, to try to, not to put the past behind me, but to be strong from my mom, my sister, and all the extended family that we have left, and just to try never to forget about what we went through. In my day, it was in my version of Pearl Harbor, and I cannot and I will not forget it.
Well said. What would you, if you had the opportunity right here at Eagle Summit Ranch where these young warriors are reconnecting, what would you like to say to them?
First of all, I'd like to just hug them. Before I said a word to them, I'd like to just hug them and say thank you for an all-volunteer army like the we have today. Most of the guys that are fighting in Afghanistan and have just left Iraq weren't in the Army or the Marines or in the armed forces when 9/11 happened. Of course, there was some, but they grew up because they enlisted because they saw 9/11 happen. They were at any given age what they were, but they saw it happen. They were living history. I'm getting choked up, but I would do anything I can, in my power to try to help them with their needs, and just tell them that they're doing such an important job to stay, for the American way of life to continue, and they're doing it with not a lot of support a lot of times from our government, from private. You know, it takes so little. They need so much, but so little is often offered. It appears to me.
You're right. Not much is being done, but through Operation Warrior Reconnect, through Roever Foundation, through this television show, War and Recovery, and through your willingness to sit down here on this television show, something is being done. We are remembering. We will never forget. But what would John Cozy like to say that maybe I haven't asked you? What would be your heart of hearts right now you'd like to say?
I'd like to just say that I am so happy there's people and organizations like yours to get brothers in Christ together to help these guys that come home, help these women that come home, and just try to give them some normalcy back. You know, I can just say that through Christ I've learned to give, and I've learned so much since 9/11 myself personally, and I just want to say, you know, like, thank you, and you know, what can I do to help you to help them? I want to be there. I want to be a chain, you know, a small sprocket in that big chain. I want to be a part of that, you know, and I feel so honored that I met you, and that we, through casual fellowship conversation, are sitting here now talking about this, because it shouldn't have happened. It just, so many things changed for us to get together, to know you, and within a few short days. And it's God's work. There's no doubt about it.
Well, John, I want to thank you for being with me today on War and Recovery. It is important for people to hear the other side of the story, the flip side of that coin that revisionists are trying to take out of the textbooks. It's a perfect example in your life that there is recovery after war. On behalf of all those who've been watching, and myself, John, thank you for being on this program today.
Dave Roever's personal story is a gripping, unforgettable one that moves from tragedy to triumph. And now he's helping today's returning warriors find their way home. For your gift today of $25 or more to help Dave continue his work with our heroes, Dave would like to send you his book, Scarred. Call now and order your copy. You'll not only be captivated by this true story of tragedy to triumph, you'll be helping another warrior find their way home. Call right now.
We gather here this morning for two reasons. The first is to recognize those families who have forever been affected by the September 11th attacks. We will continue to hold these families near and dear to our hearts. We must also take this opportunity to remember those who we have served alongside of, and those who have paid the ultimate sacrifice during the global war on terror. The second reason to gather today is to recommit ourselves to the mission at hand. We must not forget the reason the 18th Airborne Corps continues to deploy soldiers into harm's way. There still remains those in this world who want to attack our nation and our way of life. September 11th is forever written in our history, and as long as we send men and women into the fight, we will remain committed to the task at hand. We will successfully complete our mission in Afghanistan, just like we did in Iraq, and continue to honor those we have lost along the way. Today, I have the special privilege to introduce and welcome our close friend, partner, and guest speaker, Mr. Dave Roever. It's Roever, by the way, not Roever, just like it's Casa, not Casa, right? Dave is a man who knows all too well the memories of battle and has not forgotten his commitment to the ideals of our great nation. Dave received his draft notice for the Army at the height of the Vietnam War, but with no desire to serve in the infantry. Now, I've introduced him a few times, so I can get away with this. You are still a weenie, sir. He joined the Navy and served as a riverboat gunner in the Mekong Delta. In July 1969, 8 months into his tour, Dave was critically wounded when a white phosphorus grenade exploded in his hand due to enemy fire. It was only through 14 months of hospitalization and countless surgeries that a phenomenal commitment came to life, and Dave's continued service to our nation emerged in a new capacity. Dave now spends his time traveling the globe, sharing his gripping story and imparting hope in the face of seemingly insurmountable obstacles. His journey has taken him to U.S. troops all across America, Afghanistan, Kuwait, Iraq, Europe, and the Far East, with specific locations we'll talk about here in a minute in Texas, California, Colorado, and Oklahoma. Those are the homes of Eagle Summit Ranches. If you haven't been to one, you're missing something. They're very special places, and these ranchers, the ranches he sponsors in those states are the home of amazing programs that help our wounded warriors overcome their very own challenges. So Dave, we look forward to a ranch here. Hey, Tom, you need some help? We need a ranch here in North Carolina. But he's offered last night, just so you know, to Jay and our WTB, we'll be sending some of our wounded warriors out to West Cliff, Colorado, the home of Eagle Summit Ranch, where Dave and Kathy Wampler are sitting right here, run that ranch. We're going to send some of our warriors from North Carolina to Colorado and some of our cadres. So we cannot thank you enough. By never forgetting where his life was changed forever, Dave still reaches out to the people of Vietnam through multiple projects involving education, phenomenal education, scholarships, and health care. So thanks for all the giving you give here in our country and all across the globe. We're very glad that he was able to join us today, and I know that each of us will be encouraged and enlightened by his words. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, it is my distinct pleasure to introduce my personal dear friend, Mr. Dave Roever. Please join me in a round of applause.
Thank you very much. Thank you, and good morning. Good morning. What a very special day today is. I am so thankful for the opportunity, General Anderson, to be here with your beautiful wife, Beth. We love both of you so deeply, and your commitment to our cause has been unwavering and truly inspirational. To everyone that's here, we know that today is a day of commemoration. We don't celebrate this day, we commemorate it. I know that while it's been made mention of, the cauldron made from the steel from the fallen towers, yet today represents a recreation and a reconnecting to hope out of tragedy, which to me is the secret of life. That for any experience we have that is negative, when we add the vertical relationship with the Almighty to the horizontal relationship we have with a very confused world, we have a negative turned into a positive, and today we make a negative remembrance a positive statement. Never, ever again. Do we agree on that? Never, ever again. We remember. I remember that I was in Canada that day. I remember stepping into the school auditorium at Medicine Hat, Alberta, Canada. And as I stepped in, I watched in awe as our magnificent northern neighbors, our sister in freedom, Canadian students, stood in awesome silence as I stepped out on that gym floor and began to address those magnificent young people. I realized that day that the world had changed. I had changed. I'm a Vietnam veteran. I was injured in July of 1969. I know to you young warriors, that sounds like right after the War of 1812. But I ain't that old yet. In fact, I feel like I've got a lot of good years left in me, and I intend to continue to give them in the fullest complement of my capability for the cause of freedom. I recall one particular occasion that as I had arrived in Baghdad and have had the privilege to have made 6 tours under the auspices of Department of Defense as a resiliency coach with the Comprehensive Soldier Fitness Program, I was ushered into the morgue. And there our very young warriors were tending to our battle-fallen heroes. I remember looking at the old grizzled Vietnam veteran that was kind of like a dad to them that day. And as he was overseer of that horrific job, I wanted to give him encouragement. Right in the middle of my little speech or whatever, I heard my name come up on a confused radio announcement. It was on every radio that was gathered in that place. Something bad had happened. When all the radios go off at once, it's never good. But I heard my name, and it was a dispatcher saying, "Get Mr. Roever to the International Zone Hospital quickly." We weaved our way through those giant barricades and got into the green zone. And as I rushed up the steps to the old hospital Saddam had used for his family, one of the doctors met me, and he recognized me from occasions past. He pointed and he said, "That way fast. We've got 5 hit, 2 dead, 2 wounded, 1 that's not going to make it. He's burned, Mr. Roever, 100% 3rd degree." It didn't shock me. I've seen it. I was surrounded by it. My injury was 50%, but in the 1960s, 30% was considered fatal. but I had the extra help of not only the greatest doctors in the world at Brooke Army Medical Center, but I had the great physician pulling for me too. He's been pulling for us. We were wounded as a nation that day. We could respond quietly and non-passionately, and only God knows where we'd be today if we had done that. But sitting here, and I won't point him out, but one night as we were flying between Iraq and Afghanistan, one of your warriors was with his commander and another gentleman, and we were in the back of a C-130. That they and I were the only people on board, other than, of course, the flight crew. And the commander of that threesome handed me his coin, and he had a little tiny light, and he squeezed it because everything else was blacked out. There was no instrument lights, no lights at all. And I read the coin, and it's a little difficult, and if you're a quiet, really peace-loving person, it may offend you, but you'll get over it. It said on there, "We kill terrorists with deadly precision. May they rot in hell." As wrong as some may think it is, I took comfort. I took comfort in knowing that our United States military, who are represented here today in their finest, Fort Bragg still remains a guidon, a light in a world of darkness where the price of freedom has never been squelched. It will be paid at any price. I took comfort to know that there would be an immediate and terrifying response by the men and women of the United States military who would stand up for our cause. I've said this often, and I'll try to make it appropriate to this setting. There'll be no Taliban hand grenade down this walkway. There will not be an Al-Qaeda truck bomb in that parking lot. Because as those of us who are civilians here today might recall, and I do recall, I slept. I sleep good at night because I know that men and women in the United States military, and let me just point out specifically Fort Bragg, they were up all night watching over me at some corner of the earth where best laid plans of our enemies are being made. What is the best weapon they have against us? And what is the best weapon we have against them? Contrastingly, consider this. Their best weapon is in our own hands to destroy us. It's called forgetting. If we do not do what we're doing here today, if we do not continue, if we, many years later, as unfortunately December 7th, 1941 fades, I will never forget, and I wasn't even there that day. I wasn't born yet, but I still remember Pearl Harbor Day. Because when we forget, we have predestined ourselves to relive that horrible day for another generation yet to come. Our greatest weapon against them is to not forget. It is to remember. Because if we continue to remember, we will continue to be vigilant to provide for that next generation what we today, even in the battle, still enjoy. Our freedom has not and will not be destroyed. It will continue because these in uniform today are committed to a cause beyond themselves. I'm going to say this, and I hope it resonates with you. If there's nothing worth dying for, there's nothing worth living for. If the sum of all my parts is not yet smaller than the greater challenge of opportunity before me, if I think I'm the end of my own cause, I have nothing to live for and certainly nothing worth dying for. Oh yes, I'd die for my country and my scars prove it. And I've paid my price. I don't stand here with pity. I meet people all the time, uglier than me, never were burned. I had one guy step up to me and said, "Well, fella, looks like you got hurt there. What happened to your face?" I said, "Whoa, dude, what happened to your mother?" You know you're ugly when you're born, the doctor slaps her. But I was injured. I paid the price for my generation of a war for the cause of freedom. And I'm proud of my scars and stripes. What the enemy never expected was that we find honor in service. And when the price is paid, be it the ultimate in death or that in suffering, when that price is paid, it endures that cause to our heart beyond measure, beyond calculation. When you've paid for something you love, It isn't just given to you, it cost you. My cost of freedom is paid. It's no greater than the cost of those two magnificent young men standing there, or those heroes of 9/11 driving those beautiful trucks, and our firefighters and our policemen paying equal price for the cause. My price is no greater, but I remember the pain. I remember the day I was embarrassed. I wanted to scream. It hurt so bad as I laid in my bed at Brooke Army Medical Center, Ward 14A, the burn center. They called it the ICU. I didn't know what that meant until I was able to stand after 4 months. They got me a little robe. It doesn't come together in the back. That's why they call it the ICU. I figured that out. I'm not totally ignorant. But I recall the day it hurt so bad. I put my face in the pillow and screamed so nobody could hear me. And that muffler of a pillow protected my pride. And when I lifted my head to suck in a breath of air, I screamed again in pain that was more emotional than physical when I looked down and my face had come off and it was stuck to my pillowcase. I remember that day. When people say to me today, why do you go into those places of harm's way to encourage our troops? Because I can't afford to sit back quietly and let somebody else pay my price for freedom. I don't have to don the uniform, which I wish I could, but they said I'd have to go to North Carolina Tent and Awning to have it built. But the fact is, I will protect what I have sacrificed for. I remember. And today we will never forget. And we will continue these incredible ceremonies, recalling that day that the enemy thought they could snuff out the lamp of freedom. And only did they do this, reignited it to a greater cause. I'm proud to be here today. God bless Fort Bragg. God bless our esteemed general, his family, all of his staff. My name is Dave Roever, and I approve of this message. Hey, it's been a great day. We're at Fort Bragg at Pope Field here. I've had a phenomenal day. This celebration of 9/11, and it has been amazing. The Bible says steps of righteous man are ordered of the Lord. And I'm going to tell you these days, that is true. We're getting ready to head back now to Fort Riley and Fort Sill for our continuation of our Operation Warrior Reconnect program, where we have a Winning with Integrity session happening. It's going to be an awesome trip back, great conclusion of a wonderful week with our warriors. You know what? God bless our military. God bless our troops, and wherever they are today, God keep them safe.
Dave Roever's personal story is a gripping, unforgettable one that moves from tragedy to triumph. And now he's helping today's returning warriors find their way home. For your gift today of $25 or more to help Dave continue his work with our heroes, Dave would like to send you his book, Scarred. Call now and order your copy. You'll not only be captivated by this true story of tragedy to triumph, you'll be helping another warrior find their way home. Call right now.